afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the SkillsFuture Festival X Smart Nation 2022 webinar series organized by SkillsFuture Singapore and Smart Nation Office. Today's webinar entitled Making the Internet of Things, IoT, Work for You at Home and at the Workplace is organized in partnership with Republic Polytechnic. I'm Celestine and I'll be your host for this session. Today, we'll find out more about the skills and fundamental knowledge of the Internet of Things, IoT, and explore how you can deploy low-cost IoT solutions at home and in the workplace, followed by a Q&A to wrap up the session. During the webinar, please feel free to type in your questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. The speaker will address them accordingly. Without further ado, let's welcome Vincent Lim, Senior Lecturer of Republic Polytechnic. Vincent, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Celestine, for introduction. Okay, so let me do a screen share. Okay, so very good afternoon to everyone who is here in the webinar. Okay, so I'll be doing a sharing on the Internet of Things. So personally, I've been in this space of Internet of Things for, I think, since I started working around coming close to 20 years already. So at the time, we don't actually call it the Internet of Things. And for I myself, I actually came upon this terminology around 10 over years ago. Okay, so at the start, I understand there are actually many of you who are here in the webinar, and I would actually like to do a poll with everyone who are here today. So let me understand on where you are actually along this IoT journey. Are you new to the concept of IoT? Do you have knowledge of the architecture of an IoT system? Have you used IoT devices before at home or workplaces? Or perhaps have you developed IoT applications before? So let me know where you are along the IoT journey. Okay, so I will give you perhaps 5 minutes. No, not 5 minutes. 1 minute to look through and do a voting on where you are along the IoT journey. Okay, so perhaps once most of you have completed the poll, then maybe we can share with everyone the answer so we can actually understand on where you are, along the journey. And I will be able to curate the session based on where you are, so you can actually understand what's coming up next in the IoT journey. So I would like to invite the host to also perhaps you can close the poll and share the results with everyone. Okay, all right. So thank you so much to everyone who have completed. So I can see that around 65% of you are new to the concept of IoT, and perhaps around 22% have used IoT devices before at home or workplaces. Yeah, then some of you have some knowledge, and there are actually 3 of you who have developed IoT applications before. So that's amazing. Yeah, so perhaps at the end, if I have an opportunity to also link up with everyone here, so that'll be great. Okay, all right, so let me close the poll. So I will begin. So understanding that around 65% of you who are actually new to this area of IoT, so I will spend a bit more time in this aspect to let you all take a look at, what actually is the Internet of Things. So the Internet of Things was actually first coined back in the year 1999 by Mr. Kevin Ashton. Yeah, he's currently at the MIT Auto ID Center. And what he actually mentioned about the Internet of Things is actually a system where the Internet is connected to the physical world, that means the world around us, via ubiquitous sensors, means there are all kinds of different sensors all around us. So next, let us take a look at an interview with Kevin Ashton just a few years back on what he actually thinks about the Internet of Things. Okay, so it's only a minute-long video, so everyone sit back, relax, and hear what he has to share.
The Internet of Things is really adding, I guess, 2 components to computers as we understand them today. One is sensors, the ability for the computer to understand the world by itself. The other is networking. All those sensors can be distributed all over the place. They can be gathering different kinds of information in different locations. It all streams to the computer, which suddenly understands the world. Internet of Things is a term that I coined in 1999. And for a few years I talked about it a lot. And the result of giving that presentation hundreds of times was I went to work at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. The future is absolutely predictable and completely unbelievable. It's as easy to predict the future as it is hard to believe it. Here are 3 things about the future you probably won't believe. 15 years from now, very few new cars will have steering wheels. About 5 years from now, lots of computer devices won't have batteries. Your children and grandchildren are going to have 3-digit life expectancy.
Okay, all right. So here is Kevin Ashton on sharing on the Internet of Things, as well as some of the prediction he actually made. And many of the times you notice that the 3 predictions that he actually made is actually very closely related on the Internet of Things. Like for instance, he mentioned that the cars will not have steering wheel. So that is very closely related with what we have nowadays when we talk about autonomous self-driving cars, where they actually have many different sensors around, where they actually help the cars to actually monitor the road condition, to help the driver to get from one place to another place, and so on. Okay, all right. So it actually has been around for decades. It's not just in 1999 where we first came upon the Internet of Things. It has been around for decades. Yeah, so even as early as the 1970s, yeah, they don't actually really call it the Internet of Things, but they actually call it in a different way. So we actually have sensors and actuators. So what we actually see here are actually industrial grade sensors that have been around for many decades. And in those days, they actually use what they call small computers that they actually call programmable logic controllers. So previously I was actually working for one of the companies that actually manufacture these controllers, and they use for decades, easily 30, 40 years, and they're still running today. Then after, they are typically connected to a server that's in the same area as where all these different controllers are located. So usually it's within the same vicinity, connected via local area network with cables linking from one place to another. So this is what we call the intranet. So they are not connected to internet. And if there's a need to actually, get certain information from there, they will have reporting features that are connected to the server. So for them to generate standard reports to see how they are actually performing. And if there's a need for notification, back in those days, I remember still in the 90s or even in the year 2000, if there's a need to get in notification, they will come by SMS. So in those days, we actually have GSM modem that will actually send SMS notification to the different engineers or to the different staff who are actually monitoring the operations to see what is actually happening. And let's take a look at the pricing of all the different products. So typically, let's say we talk about pretty good sensors, actuators, the starting price usually, it can begin from $300 from a sensor or actuator. Controllers, you can spend from a few $100s to, on average, it's around like $2,000 for each programmable logic controllers. Server, if you want it to be running continuously, this is the price that we will get. And of course, some of the reporting software that we will need to subscribe to on a regular basis. SMS notification. And you will need people, not only the real hardware, but we also need people who know how to put in the logic. So this is what we actually call firmware engineering. People who know how to interact with the controllers, who program it to work in a certain way based on the information they receive. Then we also need to have software engineers who are working on the server side. So we will need expertise to actually come in from several areas. We have people who are good in the hardware, who are good in the firmware, who are good in the software, all coming in, and the project cost will be very easily, like $500,000. I still remember 15 years ago, I was part of the team, like this team. And the budget that they actually set aside for, a few hundred of us engineers is easily around $100 to $200 million just for a project to monitor, to automate, to bring in these different technologies, across the whole manufacturing plant. So it has been around for several decades. And typically the cost to implement this kind of smart technology has not been cheap. But in the last 10 years or so, there have been changes, changes that take place where that actually make the technology to be cheaper, more easily accessible for people. So let's take a look at what is the technology like based on the Internet of Things. So over here, we are looking at the architecture of the Internet of Things, and you'll notice that it's very similar to what I actually shared with you earlier on. So likewise, you will have sensors, actuators, and they are connected to a device that will help process. It's like a small little computer that is actually not that expensive. And this is typically what we call a thing. So when we talk about the Internet of Things, the part of the thing is actually where your sensors are, where your small little computer are. And they are typically nowadays connected to the cloud platform. So instead of a local server that you have, physically on site, the information are sent directly onto the internet, onto cloud platforms. And next we will have web analytics. So they are usually located in the same function. They are typically what we call software as a service, where you can just subscribe to these either free or low cost, and you can start using many of the features to access to the information that you actually have in the cloud platform. And next we have also mobile app. So with smart devices, smartphones, nowadays you don't need to use SMS. You can actually send notification to a mobile app, and you can actually also control it remotely using a mobile app. So that's the wonderful thing. And the next interesting thing is not connecting to the intranet that we had earlier on. We actually connect them to the internet. And let's take a look at the pricing. So nowadays, like sensors, you can actually buy quite cheap, like $20. Then device, it can be like 50 to close to $100. So usually the small little processing unit, small little computer that you can buy, typically it will cost less than $100. And thereafter, you can actually subscribe to cloud services. And many of the times you notice that the cloud services, they actually have a free subscription where you can actually get started on it quite easily, quite fast. Let's say if you want to have a more demanding requirement, that's where payment subscription will actually start coming in. And let's say if you want to put in certain logic, certain kind of criteria. Let's say if you get certain kind of information on temperature, on lighting, on intruder. So you can actually do a lot of this designing yourself. You don't need to hire firmware engineers or software engineers, for them to do this particular work. And if let's say you want to deploy the Internet of Things for a, for a location, right? The project cost typically will be for something that's comparable, right, will be less than $5,000. Or let's say if I want to do a very small local scale, where let's say I want to monitor something in my home or my workplace, usually I can get it up for less than $100. And if you already have the devices, later I will share with you all some devices, you can actually get started with it quite easily. So you can actually see there's this difference, between 20 years ago when I was doing some of those projects to connect equipment and things up, to nowadays, let's say if you want to monitor something, you can actually get started with it very fast. Number one, the speed in which you can get started rapidly. Number two, the cost is also much more lower. And it's also quite easy for anyone to actually learn what is the Internet of Things and getting started with it. So over here, I'll be sharing with you all some of the very common use cases that we actually see around us. Both in our day-to-day life as well as in our workplaces. So at the start, we actually, one of the things that personally that's very close to heart is actually our bus services. Because like for I myself, I take buses regularly, and we can actually see how they have evolved over the last 15 years. 15 years, is actually what I would say is not a long or it's also not an overly short time frame, but we can actually see the evolution that takes place over time. So at the start, I still remember back in the year 2005. If I want to know what time the bus will be coming to the bus stop, I will need to look at this board, or you can refer to the small little booklet, translating booklet, where you can actually look at the range of timing that the buses is supposed to come. But that's actually on paper. But on the ground, you'll notice it's quite different. Sometimes it will take way more than the stipulated time. Then thereafter, I still remember in the year 2007, that's where SPS Transit actually start implementing bus arrival information. And one of the key technology they actually put into their buses is the Internet of Things. So over here, they have, of course, this is generation 2 dashboard. They actually have this small little computer that they actually have on the buses, where they actually have GPS, general positioning satellite information. And the information of this bus location are transmitted using a GPRS network. So that means the slower 2G network. And this information are all gathered in their central server in SBS Transit, where they use it to estimate how much more time do the buses need to come to the bus stops. Yeah, so that was the very first step, where they start making the buses smart by putting in location information. Yeah, so with that, right, it actually benefit the commuters. Yeah, so let's say if you know that it's coming in 52 minutes, you can go around, do some shopping, have a meal, then you come back, and then you'll be just in time. Yeah, and I still remember in the year 2007 was also when the first iPhone was introduced in the United States. And the first iPhone actually reached our shores in 2008. And within the next few years, there were a lot of innovation that came in through apps, So wherever you are, you can actually check on what time is the next bus coming. Yeah, so through the use of mobile apps, you actually have this mobility anywhere you are to actually know where the buses are, what time they are coming. And as recent as just 3 years ago, okay, so one of the things is over the past 10 years, 10 years or so, there have been a lot of information that's been gathered by LTA. Yeah, a lot of this information on so how many buses travel within this time, where the buses are based on your EasyLink tap-in, tap-out information. So a lot of this information are actually being gathered by LTA. And they actually gathered in this location, what we call the Land Transport Data Mall. With this large amount of information, right, they actually started to do some simulation. I still remember back in 2019, they actually had this news article where they actually did simulation on the bus routing. And let's say if they were to, make certain changes to the bus route, what will be the impact? Yeah, so you can see a step-by-step journey on how they actually evolved, the last 15 years, from putting in location information, advising on arrival time, to finally being able to do routing information on what is best for the commuters. Yeah, so this is one part of it. And next, we also start to see them appearing in our homes. Yeah, so for those who have used IoT, in the homes or workplaces, some of these might be familiar with you. So like for instance, Samsung, they actually have a smart things. Xiaomi, at the start, right, all the products are introduced with internet connectivity. Yeah, so these are some of the things that we actually see. So then we have other home appliance maker that initially the product, they are not connected to the internet. So basically you just need to operate on the buttons and switches. Yeah, the next step where they actually start introducing the smart devices into their home appliances, where they have their home appliances connected to the internet. You have a mobile app that can remotely control and monitor what is happening. Yeah, so we have nowadays, I noticed that even security, right? You can actually very easily implement security in your home. You don't have to spend a few $100s to have a CCTV, to monitor whether is there any intruder in your home, or monitor your small little babies, your small little kids, how are they doing at home. Yeah, you can actually just get any one of these smart small little security camera. You put it at home, for less than $100, and you can actually monitor what is happening. Yeah, even for health, even for personal health, yeah, now there's a very strong focus on the care economy. Yeah, how do we actually care for the elderly? Yeah, especially let's say if you have parents who are not elderly parents not living with you, or you could have siblings or relatives. How do you actually keep track of their health? Yeah, so even there are nowadays a lot of these kind of smart devices, like even for those fitness tracker. Yeah, you can actually wear it, for the whole day, and you can actually track on a person's vital signs, how they're doing. Yeah, and a lot of this information are being gathered. You can actually remotely monitor too. Yeah, even in RP, just last year, we actually did a project on how they can take their sugar level, glucose monitoring, and see what's their level. And this information are actually being sent to the doctor. Yeah, so they can actually also help monitor it remotely. And recently, I've also been doing some projects where quite a number of friends actually, or quite a number of participants who actually attended the course. They say that they want to check whether it's their parents, or their elderly grandparents, are they taking their medication on a regular basis? Yeah, because sometimes they have the medication there, but they don't consume. So they actually have this question. So as a result, I actually developed, some based on weight sensors and tracking on the medicine weight, then you can actually track the consumption level on how often do they actually consume the medicine. So there's actually a lot of things that you can actually do to, to actually, help make your life easier in terms of monitoring. And if there's a need to actually alert you if something is not going according to plan. Yeah, even for, let's say, if you have certain hobbies. Yeah, so over here are quite a number of use cases that actually I try out, actually within the office. Yeah, there's actually this story I'd like to share on fish feeding. Okay, so what actually happened was, okay, so this is actually my colleague's fish tank. You see the year, December 2019. Okay, so what actually happened is usually towards the end of the year, they will actually, many of my colleagues, they will actually take leave. They will create a leave, they will go overseas for holiday. So what actually happened was one of them actually need to go away for 2 weeks. Yeah, then he kind of asked me, because typically I don't go on holiday. So he asked me whether could I help to feed his fish. Okay, so then of course I help to feed the fish. Then I start feeding. Every day I feed. But there was a problem, when it comes to fish feeding. Okay, because personally I don't rear fishes, my colleague does. So what actually happened is every day he will feed maybe I don't know, like 10 grams or so of food stock. Whereas for me, I will feed like 3 or 4 times more. I will just keep pouring, and after I see the fishes are very happy. And after 2 weeks, okay, what actually happened is suddenly there were, of course, for those who rear fishes will understand, if you feed too much, right, suddenly there will be an algae boom. So that's what happened. Suddenly there's a lot of algae inside the fish tank. Okay, then secondly, what I noticed is suddenly there are a lot of small fishes that come in because there's too much food, right? And they start eating and they start reproducing. So that was actually what happened. Yeah, so how my colleague actually feed and how I feed, they are actually being done differently. So what actually happened eventually was I actually introduced this fish feeding device. Yeah, this fish feeding device will actually help to feed on a daily basis. And secondly, also you can remotely also monitor and adjust the amount to feed the fishes. And of course, I also put in another camera so you can actually look at the fishes to see how they are doing. So by introducing this device, and it was back in December, it actually helped to regulate the food. Yeah, you can also make adjustment, and you can also remotely monitor. Yeah, then after that, fast forward, fast forward all the way to April. Then that's when, for those of you who remember, in April, that's where our circuit breaker was announced. And then there was actually everyone, we need to like work from home, do home-based learning and so on. So what actually happened was many of the colleagues who are not able to be in offices, right? Many of their fish tanks were affected. Only this that have IoT connected to it, a device, auto feeding machine connected to it, still continue to survive, across the 2-month circuit breaker. Yeah, when we all went back to office 2 months later, then we noticed, wow, only this fish tank is, the fishes are still happy, well, still alive. And of course, there are also many other, use cases like plant watering, printing of the printing equipment. Here we have a 3D printing machine. Yeah, so actually I implemented some IoT to keep track and to detect errors, in 3D printing early, and also intruder detection. Yeah, so you notice that there's actually a lot of very interesting use case if you look around us that we feel that, instead of doing it this way, can we use some simple technology to help us make our work easier? So here are some of the just examples that you can consider. And we will delve into the components within an IoT. So with that understanding what are the components within an IoT, so next time, let's say if you want to make certain purchase decision, let's say I want to buy IoT and give it a try. Since online shopping, there are so many different choices you can explore. Or if you want to create one, there's also another area that you can do. So just like I mentioned, within the Internet of Things, the things segment, right? Okay, there's this one part which is actually called sensors and actuator. So sensors actually detect what is happening around the world. It can be lighting, it can be temperature, it can be humidity, it can be your water pH level, something like that. It can be your energy current usage, to track your energy consumption. You can be detecting people walking by, then you have infrared sensors in there. Yeah, it can be any one of those things. So this is what we actually call a sensor. And next, we actually have actuator. Let's say you want to control a door open or door close. Recently, I did some interesting project with one of the government agency also. To help them, auto open the door, because they do not want to keep opening the door. So there's a lot of even for lighting, you have to display a light, show light, you have to have a buzzer. So these are just some examples of actuator. So here, I'll just very quickly show you some of the things. Including one of them is to track for vibration. So whether something is vibrating, is moving, even our human body, or we have to track distance. So this is also another thing. This is also another very common use case on distance from here to there. So how far is it? And example of actuators, like just like I mentioned. So these are the things. So one is getting information from the environment around us. The other one is sending of action to the world around us. So these are the two key things, within the Internet of Things. And usually this will be directly connected to a device. So this is what we call a small computer. And if we look at this small little computer, usually they are much more powerful than the computers we have 30 years ago. 30 years ago, this small little one, you can get it for less than $100. And you can tell it to do simple things, like monitor the information that is coming in from the world around us. And if you want them to make simple decisions, say, okay, let's say if temperature is too high, you will start to adjust your air conditioning, or it will start to play some alert sound and so on. Or it will send information to the internet. So that's the role of these small little computers. So this is the next important component within the Internet of Things. And very often you need to be connected to the internet. So that's the key thing. The internet connection, whether is it there where the information is being sent. So over here are just examples of all the different internet connections. So very often personally for I myself, I will use the commercial network, like Wi-Fi, 4G. So these are some of the more common ones. 4G is like LTE, Wi-Fi. Then what we see here, like NB, IoT, LoRa, Sigfox, these are some of the longer distance network that is being used by Internet of Things. So it depends on what is your use case. You can actually decide what kind of network you're going to tap on. But let's say for general use, let's say for home use or for office use and so on, something like Wi-Fi, 4G network, it actually works fine. And of course, there are many cloud platforms. So all the big name companies like Google, Microsoft behind Azure, Amazon Web Services, IBM, they provide IoT platforms, right? You can build your application to gather the data from these devices, and thereafter you can monitor, visualize them, and control them. Okay, so later I will do a live demo with everyone. We will do a live demo with this device that I actually have on my site, and how you actually get started very easily with some of these cloud platforms. Okay, so I will share on this use case that I actually did with a company last year. Is it last year or 2 years ago? 2000. It's actually last year. So this is a use case that I actually did with a company last year. And okay, usually at this step, I will of course ask a question on which home appliances or equipment which home appliances do they feel consume the most heat. But no problem, I will just share this use case directly. Okay, so they actually have this water heating equipment. Okay, so this is where the company actually have this water heating equipment. Okay, so what actually happened is they have this question on their mind. Where should this water heating equipment be placed? Should it be placed under the fan, where there's a fan blowing and there's a lot of people walking around? Or should it be placed at a corner, 2 meters away, that is not under the fan? So they actually have this one very simple question. Where should I place this water heating equipment? Where people will come, take cold water, hot water from there. And one of their key consideration behind that is, I want to consume less electricity. Yeah, now this electricity go up the roof. Last year, actually, electricity prices were still quite okay, 15 cents, 16 cents kilowatt hour, but now it becomes like 25, 26 cents. So now it becomes even more important for this. So at the time, there was this question: should I put it under the fan or not under the fan? Which one will save more electricity? Yeah, so of course, different people have different opinion. Some they say you put it under a fan, it will help cool the equipment. Yeah, it will help cool it. Then it will keep it in a better temperature. Another group say no, you shouldn't put it under the fan. If you put it under the fan, you will need to work harder. So there were actually these two groups. Yeah, so instead of also joining in the discussion and monitoring the temperature and all that, so we decided to use IoT. We decided to put in a device. So I actually got in this IoT device, connect to a battery, and at the top we actually have a environment sensor. We put in a temperature sensor, a device, a small little computing processing power, connect the battery for battery source. And this very easily, it can last for 3 days or more. 10 milliampere hour, $10 battery can last this monitoring for 3 to 4 days. That's no problem. Then next, I need it to be connected to internet. So at the location, there's actually no internet connection. Yeah, no Wi-Fi, but they have 4G network. Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing about Singapore. We actually have network connectivity. So actually, I put in a SIM card. SIM card that costs like $5. Connect to the 4G router, and they don't actually use that much data plan. That's the good news. So it's actually connected to this, and thereafter we monitor it over time to see how does the equipment operate under the fan and not under the fan. Okay, so the results are okay. So I will just show you the results. So of course, from this data, at one glance, it's like what's happening. So you see at the top we have with the fan, and below is without the fan. So what actually happened is, if we look at with the fan, right, the temperature will drop actually very fast. The water heating equipment, the temperature will drop very fast, and it will also rise up. Because how water heating equipment actually work is, let's say you boil it to 90 degrees Celsius. The moment it drops, let's say 5 degrees or 10 degrees or so, you will need to boil again. So what actually happens is, if you put it below the fan, right, the temperature will drop very fast. Then you need to boil it again. You drop very fast and boil it again. Drop very fast and boil it again. Compared to not below the fan, it will just maintain, drop a bit up, maintain, drop a bit up. Yeah, so this is how it actually operates. And the number of times they reboil under the fan is 7 times in 3 hours, compared to without a fan is 7 times in 4 hours. And each time you reboil, it will consume electricity. Okay, so of course, as a result, we make certain changes, recommendations. We say, okay, we don't put it here, we put it in another location, using the data that we gathered. And immediately we can see the savings, in terms of electricity consumption. Yeah, so there's one way in which you can actually use the Internet of Things. Okay, so some of the other common use cases, so I'll just put it here. You can track and analyze the route of my drivers. Let's say you have to find it more efficient. Okay, you can actually monitor the equipment or facility utilization easily to improve the utilization. You can remotely alert trigger via mobile app for machine breakdown or intruder. Yeah, you can monitor facility environmental condition to reduce energy usage and trigger remote alerts by mobile app. Yeah, you can improve the safety of staff through sound alerts if certain safety distance were not observed. Yeah, you can actually track the quantity of issued inventory and trigger replenishment. And recently I also expanded, like they can actually also provide, for those who are in inventory warehousing, they can also use it for like pick to light. Yeah, use it for operations use instead of buying those expensive off-the-shelf solution that could cost 10 times more. Yeah, so it actually can give you all a lot of ideas of what you all can do. Could be an alternative from existing commercial solution that costs a lot more, and you can actually, develop, some very simple solution and it works similarly. Yeah, so these are some of the very common use cases that I've seen that are being adopted by companies. Okay, so over here I'll be doing a live demo on the easy to deploy Internet of Things, which is the M5 IoT. So some of the technology I'll be used is this company that provides this IoT device is called M5 Stack. yeah, with IoT and sensors. And I will, okay, mobile app, I will not be doing the demonstration here. Yeah, typically I will guide step by step on how they trigger my mobile app in the one-day course. And next, we actually have the Think Speed Analytics. Yeah, later I will actually do the Think Speed Analytics with everyone. So over here, I actually will be sharing with you all the IoT device. Okay. All right. So I will stop share. Okay, later I will do a demo. Okay, so I will stop share from now. Okay, all right. So everyone, so over here I have this small little IoT device. You'll notice it's around the size of a finger. Yeah, that I actually have over here on my side. Okay. All right. So then I will share my screen again. And next is I will be guiding through how to actually put in the logic to monitor step by step. Yeah, typically in the past, if you want to have this kind of smart devices, things like that, right? You need to write them in Python programming. Yeah, you need to write them in Python programming. But now we just use block diagrams. Very easy, you know. Later you see how I actually get started and put in all the different logics. You can actually do them very easily. So let's do a live demo. Okay, let's do a live demo over here. So on my screen, I actually have, yeah, so later I'll be sharing with you all the course that I actually do, which is the adopting Internet of Things operation. Okay, so over here, I have actually a UI flow logic. It's connected to my device over here. It's connected to my device. And let's say, and the good thing about this is I noticed with a lot of companies and agencies is that you don't have to get approval to install any kind of software. It's web-based. Yeah, so basically they have a web browser, can connect to the internet, you can actually get started with it. And it's actually based on drag and drop. So over here, let's say I drag and drop a label over here. I increase the size to maybe slightly larger. And I want to display this like, hello everyone. I type in the word hello everyone. Okay. Then I click on the word run. Okay, then I will actually stop share and you all can see. All right, so I have this on my device. Hello, everyone. Yeah, so immediately you can actually, what you see is what you get. Yeah, and it's actually very fun. Okay, all right, so now I will get started with a live demonstration. How do you actually find out what's the temperature of the place I'm now in? Yeah, how do you know what's the temperature of the place? Yeah, right now I'm actually in a small little room. Okay, so let me do a demonstration, everyone. So right now I have this device. So this is actually my environment sensor. So if we look closer here, you can see it's actually called ENV3. So it is able to monitor temperature, pressure, humidity. And I will actually just physically connect it to this device. Yeah, I just connect to the top. So I have my sensor, I have my device, then I can actually start monitoring. Okay, so let me share my screen again. Okay, all right. So now you see what I have over here, and I want the information to be sent over to ThinkSpeed. Yeah, so this I actually register a free account with. So you can use your personal email, whatever email, go to ThinkSpeed, you can register a free account. So, and I've actually set up a channel, for me to actually monitor. Okay, let's say I want to monitor what's the temperature of the place that I'm in right now. Can you do it in 5 minutes? Okay, so this is a challenge I give to myself. 5 minutes, can I monitor what's the temperature of the place I'm in now? Okay, so using UI flow, okay, that we actually have over here, you will notice that I will actually step by step. After this actually works a bit like blocks, and you can connect them very easily. So one of the things that I want to do is I want to repeat monitoring every 15 seconds. Okay, the reason why I choose 15 seconds is because of the free IoT platform. So you can monitor every 15-second interval, not minutes, 15 seconds, and that's good enough. So I just put in a timer to tell it to wait for 15 seconds. Okay, the next thing is you notice that I attached a white sensor to this device, right? So I can actually tell it over here, it was the sensor that I want to monitor. So I put in the ENV3, which is environment sensor, and I can actually display this information. So I can display the information onto my device. So after I added in the sensor, right, I can actually go to here and I can get the temperature information that is already, can be found here. So I just drag and drop, put it here, and it can display my temperature information over here. Yeah, so later if I run, basically I can actually see the temperature information. And it's not just that. I not only want to see it on the device I'm holding now, but I also want to send this information onto the internet. So everyone who are actually online can also see the information. So how do I do that? Okay, so there are different ways in which you can actually send information internet. In the course, we actually learn, and we are using this thing what we call a HTTP request. Yeah, HTTP request, where I will actually send the information. Okay, let me shift this down. So I go to my TeamSpeak, they actually give you information on how they actually send information. So I just copy and paste here. Yeah, so that's the good news. Control C, and I go to here, and I can actually just paste it in, and the information will be sent. So it's like every single device, right, have a unique address that you can actually send to, like a postal delivery. Yeah, so over here, I will actually just, I will just do one additional thing where I will combine information here, paste in the text which I got just now, which is the unique address I want to send the information to, and followed by the temperature information. And that is all. That's all, you see. In less than 5 minutes, right, I can display the temperature of this room. I can send it to the internet, and the thing will repeat every 15 seconds. Yeah, see whether you all believe or not. Okay, I will do a run. I will do a run here. It's connected. Okay, this device is connected to my mobile hotspot actually. Yeah, so I will unshare. Okay, so I will stop share first. Yeah, so over here you can see holding is actually the temperature, so it's around 29. Yeah, 29 degrees Celsius. And it actually has up to so many decimal points, like up to 5 decimal points. Oh, okay, the temperature is slowly going up. It's actually quite warm. Actually, I'm feeling quite warm in this room. Okay, then next we go back. Let me share my screen, and I will show you what is being shown on the TeamSpeak. Yeah, so you see, so it actually started recording it at 29.89, then now the temperature is going up to 29.96. But you'll notice that it's still within the 30, around 30 degrees, 29 to 30 degrees range. Can I say if I want to share this information with people around here? Okay, so I will do a copy, and I will paste it with everyone that have the chat. Okay, so I paste it to everyone, paste. Yeah, so if any one of you who are able to access to the chat, right, you will be able to see what I see over here. Yeah, so you'll be able to monitor what's the temperature I'm in remotely, anywhere on your mobile phone, in your personal laptop. Yeah, that's the convenient thing. I will leave it running. I will just put it by the side, just next to me. So the temperature is now around like 30.2 degrees Celsius. Yeah, slowly going up. Okay, so over here is just a very simple. You'll notice that this logic, right, actually behind there's actually a Python programming with words. But from here, immediately you can actually see display information and also send it to the internet. Yeah, so this is what you want, and anyone can actually do that. Yeah, once you know which are the things you can use to help you realize that. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. So nowadays, the Internet of Things is not difficult to realize, it's not difficult to implement. Yeah. Okay, so now I will come to some of the related skill sets. So like just now when I talk about smart ecosystem, we have sensors, Internet of Things, you start integrating them together. And as you have more and more data, you can actually start implementing AI, or what they call machine learning on it. Yeah, but of course at the start, you need to have digitization. This, not digitalization, but digitization. From manual work, from what you all see, you all automatically gather the information. And from there, with all the data, you can start making sense of it. And that's where some of the terminology start coming in. Sometimes you'll read about analytics of things. So what do you mean by analytics of things? When we talk about AI of things, what do you actually mean by AI of things? So these are some of the more advanced things that you can actually start realizing once you have the data. And there are actually companies that actually create new business models using data itself. Yeah, like for instance, if you from this data develop AI engine, right? You can actually use this AI engine to be a service for people that is subscribe and get insights. Then of course there are also many other things, like simulation or digital twin that you can actually do and realize from there. Okay, all right. So as we approach towards the end of the session, I would like to do a poll with everyone here. Okay, I would like to understand what possible IoT use cases you actually would like to explore. Yeah, what are the possible? So I would like to invite my colleague Kim Yu to also share the link via the chat with everyone. Yeah, so what are the possible use cases would you like to explore? Which one is Kim Yu there?
Yeah, hang on, yeah.
Yeah, so for those with mobile phone, you all can do a scan. Yeah, you can do a scan of the QR code, or you can click on the link that we actually have. Oh, seems like Kim, you have not shared. Okay, then I will take from my file here. Okay, so sorry for the interruption. Okay, all right. So you can click on the link within the chat. Yeah. So let me know what are the possible use cases that you would like to explore. Then I will also possibly share with you all on which are the ones which I feel is most viable. And at the same time, also monitor the Q&A. Okay, all right. So they have some very good questions that are coming in. Okay, so I have a question that actually comes in from one of the participants. How much does the M5 starter kit cost? Okay, actually I got this from Vincent Lim Tower. Yeah, and the device itself, it costs $30. Sensor around $10. Yeah, so each sensor is typically between $5 to $10. Then the device itself, depending on how many you actually buy, So like for my side, actually bulk purchase. And later I will share with you all the cost towards the end, right? There's actually this course that we actually conduct where you can actually get to bring home a IoT kit. Yeah, so you get to bring home an IoT kit with sensors, speakers, and all that. Yeah. Okay, so before we go on to that, let's take a look at what are the IoT use cases. Okay, so over here we have home automation. Okay, you want like to use it for home automation, blood level, farming vending machine, IoT application, measure necessity, equipment reading. Kids doing your homework. Kids doing your homework. Electric appliance usage. Okay, all right. So very good. You can keep the possible use cases coming. Consumption of oil, rain detection. Yeah, I remember one of my colleagues say actually want to use it for rain detection. Okay, all right. So before we go on to the Q&A, okay, all right. So of course, for those of you who are interested to explore the use of the IoT, you want to learn how to get started with it. So I will paste the link over here. Yeah, so you can click on it. Then we'll go into the Q&A. Okay, all right. Yes. Okay, so Kim Yu managed to respond in time. Okay. Okay, all right. So let me go into the Q&A. All right. So let's see. Okay, currently I'm in the campus. That's why I only have one monitor. Okay, so how much is the M5 starter kit? Okay, M5 Go is a buggy platform. Another platform upgrade device previously working may break or may not work. This is the issue we allow QC for product X2. I've not used M5 Go before, but I've used the version 1 of this device. Okay, so right now I'm answering the question about the reliability of this. I've used the version 1 of this device, and to tell the truth, the version 1 around 10% breakdown. And what we are using here is the version 2. And so far we have been using it, testing, training, and all that. so far we have distributed around 100 over of this device. And to tell the truth, for the last 5 months, 6 months, for the last 6 months or so, after using this 100 or so device, right, it has not broken down yet, this M5 Plus. So we are actually putting it to more stress tests. But if you use the version 1, yeah, it's really terrible. The version 1 of this device is terrible. The M5 Plus is, so far we're still stress testing it up, hoping that it will break down, then it will form one of the sticks. Correct. So if you all want to use, I would recommend choose the within M5 stack, right? Choose the model carefully. Don't go for the older model. If you want, like for M5 right, go for the newer model. That one I find to be more reliable. Okay, so this I have answered live. So compared to commercially available IoT, what are the benefits and trade-off of DIY IoT? I feel that the benefits definitely that will come in is actually in terms of pricing. So you can actually compare to, let's say you want to get those that is offered by, like, let's say, industrial or solution provider. Because the thing is, when you want to implement IoT, right, the number one question that comes to your mind is, does it work? What are the benefits? Yeah, because what we have seen, over the last few years is many times they say they want to implement automation, sensors, but is it really getting the benefits for the companies, for the people? Yeah, many times this is the biggest uncertainty. Yeah, and after implementation, sometimes it will become a white elephant. You say, hey, they are not actually using it because it doesn't meet their business needs or requirement. So instead of investing so much, into something that you think that can work, and when you try to transform your process into automation one, you can actually start by doing something simple. Yeah, so that's why we actually use this device, right, to help us, at a step, this is also what we call rapid prototyping approach, where you try to use this to help you monitor, like we mean doing counting the number of products, or help you monitor the environment. Yeah. Then thereafter, from there, right, you see whether is it viable. If it's really viable, okay, then you can invest maybe a few $100s, or thousands of dollars, so that it will continuously help you to get the benefit. Yeah, so this is one of the approach you can use. So this is typically the approach we use on. And many of the times you notice when you implement this IoT, right, you implement, let's say, in the office environment or at home, or in certain places. Yeah, so you find that you don't need to have such strong industrial grade, that's needed, that's outdoor, that's dust free, that's waterproof, and so on. So this is one of the approach. And of course, the most important thing behind this is actually a one-day course is for people to have appreciation on what the Internet of Things is about. Yeah, so at least you will be familiar. This is what you need. Yeah, how to actually configure it and get it up and running. So this is one of the things. Okay. So let me see. So what are the other questions? Okay, the platform is the same flow.m5, currently version 10. Okay, 1.10.2. How many sensors can M5 connect at one point? Can it be daisy chain? So far, I've based on my stress test, I've connected like how many sensors can M5 connect? It can actually connect. I've tested up to 3 sensors. So one at the top, 2 at the bottom. Yeah, because from one device, right, you can actually have a hub. So I actually have a hub that actually connect to multiple sensors. So one at the top, 2 at the bottom, and concurrently they are sending information to the internet for me. But of course, like my EMV, you have 3 other temperature, pressure, humidity on top of my 2 other things. So you can actually send up maybe around like 5 information onto the cloud platforms on that. Okay, so daisy chain. Yeah, correct. So you can connect to several platforms to it. Okay, so any other question? Yeah. Thank you to Camille for also helping me type in the chat. Yeah, on questions that you all may have. Okay. All right. So as we are now at 1:55 p.m. Yeah, so coming up, we actually have several events as part of SkillsFuture Festival. Like for I myself, I'll be giving the final talk tomorrow on robotic process automation. If you are curious what is that, computer robots, right, you can join the talk So you can just go to the skillsfuture.sg website to take a look. And this weekend in Plaza Singapura. So if you are in Orchard City area, do drop by SkillsFuture Smart Nation 2022. So you can go there. Several of my colleagues, they will be having booth there. They will showcase drone, they will showcase some of the smart devices too. And if you are living in the north and do not want to come down, you can also go down to North Point City, where I'll put some of my weighing devices with Empire Stick over there, so you can play around with it. And my colleagues will also help to man the booth. So there's a lot of things that's lined up. There's a lot of things that's lined up this weekend. So if you are free, do go down and take a look. Okay. All right. So thank you very much. So of course, I also welcome connections for those who are actually here online on my LinkedIn. Yeah. So you can either search for me, Vincent Lim, Polytechnic, or you can do a scan and bring you direct to the page, or you can drop me an email. Yeah. So happy to hear from everyone here. Okay. So I just take a look at the Q&A. Any other things? Okay. All right. So I see that there's.
All right. Thank you, Vincent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
We hope that you have taken away some pointers and insights from this webinar. If you need guidance on your tech upskilling journey, you can sign up for the free one-to-one skills and training advisory session with SSG's Skills Ambassadors. They will have a conversation with you to understand your needs and objectives. It could be a new skill you're looking for to enhance your employment prospects or for your career transition plans, and share with you the relevant information. These include course search and recommendations, types of assistance schemes and funding, SkillsFuture credit, and other resources on My SkillsFuture portal. There are 3 ways to find or contact a Skills Ambassador. Visit us at any of the locations indicated on the map, but please take note of the operating days and time. They will provide you with suitable course recommendations based on your career goals. Simply scan the QR code or click on the link in the chat to register, and they will reach out to you within 3 to 4 working days. We have come to the end of our session. We would appreciate if you could take a minute to fill in the feedback form by scanning the QR code. Once again, thank you for taking time to join us in our webinar. Do check out the upcoming webinars on our SkillsFuture Festival website. Goodbye.